Bob,
Oh,
right,
I know
right.
what you're going to say.
The Bills are on that list.
Still?
They have to be. If the Bills, let's
They
do the
seem
same.
like
Hold on, Drew.
they seem like
Let's
they're admitting that we're reloading,
Let's do the
rebuilding.
same thought exercise we did with the Jets. If the Bills get to the AFC Championship game and lose to the Chiefs, is anyone?
Yeah, they're
I
furious.
think they'll fire their coach if that
Probably.
happens. You can't lose to the same team in the playoffs 4 out of 5 years and run it all back.
There's not a feeling right now that the Bills have voluntarily taken a step back.
I don't think that Vegas doesn't think that. America doesn't think that. This show, you guys have finally come around. Like Stockholm syndrome to you on them to a degree. Probably wrong analogy there. But
it's because all the guys they let go.
Right, but the world thinks they have the second best quarterback alive. At worst, fourth, and most people say second or third, right? They are in a division that does not have a juggernaut in it. And while they let guys go, but they didn't, it's not like they did a massive overhaul to where it's like, we know we're taking a massive step back. They traded Diggs because they stopped using him and he was a Malcolm. He didn't seem
They
happy
haven't
there.
given their great quarterback any great receivers.
I understand that. I agree with all of that. What I'm saying is, I think if the Buffalo, what is the scenario in Buffalo this year that doesn't end in them playing in the Super Bowl, that doesn't also then end in the coach being fired? What is it? Like if they lose in the playoffs before playing Kansas City,
plenty of reason to get rid of McDermott, and they haven't, and they've extended him.
Well, but 2 years ago, they lose that epic game to the Chiefs. Everyone's happy. They're like, hey, you got unlucky. A year ago, they get blown out by Cincinnati, but I think people felt, and I wasn't one of them, that the DeMar Hamlin thing happened. There was a weird circumstance at the end of the season. This year, it was all falling apart. Then they get hot, and they lose to Kansas City. So I think this was the first year they could have fired the coach that people thought they might. Next year, if they lose in the playoffs to anyone but Kansas City, they're going to say, we're going in the wrong direction. And if they lose in the playoffs to Kansas City, they're going to say, we're never going to beat them. So I think if Buffalo doesn't make the Super Bowl, they fire their coach. Wow.
So this is an interesting one because I totally understand what Nick is saying, but I don't think the Bills, this is where I think the Bills have just mismanaged their team now for years. As you guys all know, I think Josh Allen is an unbelievable quarterback, unbelievable talent, and under the right circumstances could have had multiple Super Bowls and be considered up for debate of the best quarterback in the NFL. And what the Bills are doing has just been I'm just not a fan of whatever the heck they're doing, quite honestly. And right, extending their coach, and I don't know what they are expecting, because I don't see the way how this team is constructed right now that they have a genuine, legitimate chance at winning a Super Bowl. If we said, hey, the Bills and the Chiefs are going to play a rematch right now, who's going to win? Like, I'm taking the Chiefs. I'm taking the Ravens. I'm maybe taking the Texans. So I'm just not so sure. So then again, it's like, and if that's the case, my thing is always, and obviously sometimes you do need to rebuild, right? Sometimes you can't just do everything in one season or one off season. So I get that. But my whole thing, and this is what I've also said about the Dallas Cowboys of the past, is just like, but then like, what are you doing? Because if you're not good enough, then what are you doing to get better? And I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing. You have the Kansas City Chiefs, who won a Super Bowl and now made strategic moves to make Patrick Mahomes' life even easier, rightfully so, by the way. And now compare that to the Buffalo Bills, who have really done nothing to make Josh Allen's life easier. And then now the expectations are to be able to now beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't see how that makes sense. So I'm just not entirely sure what they're doing. I don't understand why the Bills don't go out and get a true bona fide offensive head coach. Why didn't they do everything they could to get Harbaugh? or even take a chance on a Ben Johnson, because I obviously, you guys all know that I think he's an elite offensive mind, but of course he's an unproven head coach, so that is technically a risk. Like, I don't get it. Even getting Bill Belichick, which I'm definitely not high on Bill Belichick. And listen, there's going to be some consistency with the OC now with Josh Allen, which I think could help. But I'm just not sure of the personnel there now. I'm really not, so both offensively and defensively. So I don't know, because I've talked to other people, and I talked to O'Shea over the last few weeks, many weeks at this point now, ever since the season ended, about what the Bills are, and he thinks that the Bills are in a good position. But I don't know what that means at this point, honestly. Good position as in that they can genuinely fight for a Super Bowl, because the way I look at the NFC, I think the 49ers have a genuine chance at getting, let's just say getting to the Super Bowl. Getting to the Super Bowl. I think that the Detroit Lions have a genuine chance at getting to the Super Bowl. I think the Green Bay Packers have a genuine chance to get to the Super Bowl. And I think that the Eagles have a genuine chance to get to the Super Bowl. I'm not so sure I could say that about the Buffalo Bills. Does that mean that I think that they're going to get blown out or can't compete with the Chiefs or the Ravens or the Texans or whoever else is coming? I'm not saying that. But I'm not like going into this. And again, this is hard because I got to see because the Bills did change their identity for that second half of the season. So it'll be interesting to see how that continues, because maybe I'm letting the beginning of their season cloud my judgment more. And then a lot of the injuries that they had defensively cloud my judgment. But it's just hard for me to get there, to wrap my head around a team that seemingly looks like that they may have gotten worse, and they didn't achieve what they wanted to achieve last year. So why would they now this year? Right? It's like, again, it's the same thing with the Dallas Cowboys. Like, the Cowboys did nothing to get better. They underachieved last season, and yet now people are expecting them to be even better. It just doesn't make sense to me. The teams that needed to get better or were already good, they went out and got better. The Chiefs got better. The Ravens got better. The Packers, the Lions, they're going to get better just because they're getting more mature and older, so they have more experience. The Texans went out and got better, added weapons. The Bears got better. There's teams that got better. If the Bills have gotten better, if it's like an addition by subtraction type of thing, I can see that. But if there's other things that you guys are seeing that I'm not, please definitely let me know, because the Bills just confuse me, and it's frustrating because I think the reality is that Josh Allen is such an elite talent that his expectations should be Super Bowl or bust, because he's good enough. He's good enough to be in a Super Bowl, to ball out in a Super Bowl, to be in the AFC Championship game year after year. There's only so many quarterbacks that are worthy of that. There's not a lot of them. Patrick Mahomes obviously being one of them. Joe Burrow was, but he just can't stay healthy. So honestly, I don't know what to do with Joe Burrow. I mean, I think Joe Burrow is obviously an elite talent too, but unfortunately his career as a whole has been derailed by injuries. And hopefully it's just some bad luck early on in his career and he'll be able to right that ship, but who really knows? But Josh Allen's been healthy. And that'll one day not be the case, because he takes a ton of abuse. A ton of abuse. So who knows when he starts to get hit by the injury bug, which will most likely happen. And then who knows? So it's very frustrating to watch the Bills, because it just feels like they're squandering a lot of Josh Allen's talents. They really are. It's very reminiscent of LeBron James and his first stint with the Cleveland Cavaliers. They did not do everything they could to maximize LeBron's greatness. If LeBron James only played with the Cleveland Cavaliers at that rate of the talent that he had and the coaching that he had and all of that, people would not say that he was the GOAT. It wasn't until he left and was able to continue to build his resume with other elite players, because that's what it takes. You can't just do it all by yourself. So that's no shade at LeBron, although some people will take that as a point to say, well, see, he needed that. That means he's not that good. That's not accurate. You need to be supported. The Kansas City Chiefs support Patrick Mahomes. The Philadelphia Eagles support Jalen Hurts. The 49ers support Brock Purdy. The Houston Texans are supporting CJ Stroud. The Chicago Bears are doing everything they can do to support Caleb Williams. I don't see that happening with the Bills. And a lot of that is because of a defensive mentality, a defensive culture with a defensive head coach. There's some exceptions to that, but you see this with a lot of defensive head coaches. That they just say, we got this great quarterback. We'll be able to just like kind of lean on him to be able to be Superman. And the rest is all about defense. The rest is all about who wants it more. While the really smart offensive minds are like, no, we need weapons. We need a better O-line. We need a better quarterback. We need to be smart. We need to do this. We need to do that. It's a lot more mathematical. That's why we say offensive genius. People typically don't say defensive genius these days. They just don't. Whether that's accurate or not in terms of whether you need to be a defensive genius or not, we use the terms offensive genius all the time now. We talk about Shanahan, Steichen, any of these guys being an offensive genius. Outside of Bill Belichick, even though there's other great defensive coaches, we don't necessarily say that about them. You do not hear that. You'll say he's a great defensive coach, he's a great defensive coordinator, but you don't say genius. It's just interesting because defense is associated with more of grit and discipline and hard hitting and who wants it. And offense is seen as more as intellectual, cerebral, dialing up the plays, pre-snap reads, movement, all of that type of stuff. So it's just very interesting to me. But those are just my thoughts. I would absolutely love to hear yours. Do you guys think that the Buffalo Bills are Super Bowl or bust? And do you think if they don't get to a Super Bowl or win a Super Bowl, do you think that they will finally fire their coach and make some genuine moves? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We are building an amazing community here, and I would absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to. Something that we're really excited to be part of, and I think we're well on our way to doing it. And please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help with the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much, and see you next time.